Raquelle Gracie official hate site when I was on the X Factor.
Mm.
That was the first time that I had been told to my face that you're not through because you're too fat. You know, you're not in the group anymore. You're out of the group. Rejection tags you again,
Yeah.
tags you again. And then I started to perpetuate it myself.
Mm.
It's like the brain is so powerful. I feel like I almost became addicted to self-sabotage. You know,
Yeah.
I started to live that rejection inside of me and actually start to put that out there energetically.
You know.
I'd look in the mirror and go, see,
Mm.
you're not good enough. It's kind of like this side of you, so cruel. You
Mm.
know, it kind of makes me feel a bit emotional, you know, the hatred, the self-loathing I would have for myself. And I was at the top of my game and feeling great and in sessions all the time. I was doing what I loved and I was signed to an artist that I was obsessed with. Babyface was one of my idols growing up. Everything was great. And then I would sneak away and eat.
Was it about if I put weight on and I get dropped again, then it's the weight's fault and the rejection isn't about my singing?
I think you've actually hit the nail on the head. So it was 2 years ago when obviously I gave up drinking and I remembered myself. I stepped back into my power. You are enough. And remembering that the universe has a plan.
Welcome to School of Rock Bottom with Oliver Mason. I'm an actor, a voiceover artist, and a rehab recovery coach who's been sober 9 years. And I know firsthand that rock bottom can be the greatest teacher and the springboard for a beautiful life. And as you know, I interview fellow creatives and all inspiring people that have hit rock bottom, survived, and thrived. This is a podcast of hope and how to get out of the darkness into the light. And that's why I'm so excited today, because I have got the radiant Raquelle in the studio.
Thank you for having me, Oliver.
Oh, it's so nice to see you. Thank you so much for coming down today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I should also give a huge shout out to our new sponsor, Gavin Sisters Funky Coffee and Wellness Retreats. There's one in Suffolk and also one in the Algarve where you hail from. We'll get onto that in a moment. Before we get into it all, I'm sure you recognise Raquelle. And if you don't, well, you've certainly missed out. I'm just going to give you a quick bio and then we're going to dive straight in. So today I'm joined by an absolute powerhouse. Artist, songwriter, entrepreneur, and community builder, Raquelle Gracie. She first made waves as a finalist on the X Factor in 2007, touring with Boyzone and Westlife before working with Pharrell Williams, and signing with Babyface via Universal Records. She even co-wrote a US dance chart-topping top 3 hit with Randy Jackson. Wow. But Raquelle's impact doesn't stop at music. She's shaping the next generation of artists, running songwriting camps and artist retreats in Portugal, founding Rise Creative Arts Theatre School, and launching Tiny Gym, a fresh take on Tiny Desk concerts. And with a brand new EP dropping this April, now is the time to tune in. Oh, and did I mention you're also a wife and you've got 2 children?
Thank you very much for having me. That intro is just so lovely. Thank you very much.
I think you know how I start the podcast because I always start it the same way. We're going to start with your rock bottom. We're going to go there first, and then we're going to get into the hope, the joy, and the light from there.
Okay, well, I'd say the ultimate moment that I can really remember is picking up the phone to my lawyer. I was age 23, living in LA, and she told me it was really devastating, the devastating news for me that Babyface was dropping me from my record label, and that in turn meant that suddenly I had no visa for LA. I was out of money. I was rejected for the umpteenth time. This was the second time I'd been dropped from a label. I remember thinking my life, my career is over, and I was 23.
Wow.
It was, yeah, very, very dark time for me.
Rejection is something that had kind of patted your experience up until this point. And there was lots of other factors as well, lots of grief that you were dealing with and other things that we'll talk about later on. But in terms of rejection, I wonder if you could just take the listeners and viewers back to that first one that we spoke about off air at 19. Because I think it really sort of shapes your reaction maybe to the next one. Well, I say one, there was a few.
Yeah.
What happens when you were 19?
So I had a manager at the time who promised me, "Oh, you're going to be a star. You're so talented. You're so young." You know, all this kind of things. I was drawn in. It's
Yeah.
almost like a bit of a gaslight. You know, and then he wanted to embark on a romantic relationship. He was significantly older than me, and I remember feeling shocked, pretty upset, thinking, "Gosh, am I not enough? Is my music not enough? And what more does he want from me?" And then also being very strong in my power at that age and going, "Do you know what? This isn't right, and I
Mm.
don't want to do this. This doesn't make sense. I
Yeah.
just want to sing. I just want to be an artist." So well, he dropped me because I wouldn't go there, and then he continued to block me from all industry contacts that I'd made, and I couldn't get a session. No one would work with me. It was a bizarre experience at such a young age. I thought, oh my gosh, this is it.
Mm.
What do I do now? And so the strong little fighter in me goes, well, Leona Lewis won X Factor last year. I'm going to go on X Factor. They can't block me from TV.
Wow.
So yeah, I went for that.
When that perceived rejection happened at 19, it sounds to me that you sort of something that I've done a lot in my life, just kind of, that then drove me to go on to do the next thing, which is an amazing thing
Mm.
to do rather than sort of crumble and disappear, which is amazing. But I'm guessing if you are maybe a bit like me, I would sort of bury things as well, sort of under the hatchet. What was your interpretation of that rejection at 19? How did you view it deep down internally? What did it mean?
It was definitely, there were already a few buried from growing up in those formative years. Various things happen when you're a child. And I remember just not really giving it much time to process or sit with it. I kind of ran on to the next thing. And it was the beginning of me dealing with rejection in that way
Mm.
um, as a career. I dealt with it in that way emotionally. And so that was obviously my coping technique to just go straight into the next thing, all guns blazing, leave that behind and not really address it again. And it's something that's really prevalent in the music industry. I'm glad to say times have changed a
Yeah.
bit now.
Yeah.
Um, and I just really hope that young women going out there uh, have enough confidence in themselves to be able to say, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to find another way, because there is always another way, especially now that you've got so much more opportunity to release your own records, to have
Yeah.
full creative control. You don't need that kind of misogynistic behavior. It's just it's detrimental to your soul and to your creation
Yeah.
as an artist.
Did you take it in that moment that your music wasn't enough unless you gave the romantic side to yourself as well? I'm just guessing how I might have viewed it at 19.
Definitely.
Right.
And then you start to ask if does everybody do this? Is
Mm.
this how you make it as a female artist? As it colors your view of the music industry and what you're embarking into.
Mm.
That's why I felt so much more comfortable on television, on live TV.
Yeah.
And it did as I went through my career, and I ended up obviously on the X Factor and after that, and then in LA, and there were moments where that did rear its head again.
Yeah.
Um, a few producers and some label guys, and
Right.
yeah, but I was
And by that you mean I can open doors for you. I can introduce you to contacts if maybe there's some romance can I read into it that
yeah,
way?
yeah, absolutely, and it
Right.
just wasn't professional,
Absolutely.
and it's confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I mentioned in the intro, Raquel is a powerhouse. You're a very strong woman in an amazing place. But when I looked into your backstory, I could really relate because I had cripplingly low self-esteem when I was a young person. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it it read that way to me that you were sort of really struggling with your self-esteem. You sort of mentioned it your childhood a moment ago. Was there anything in your childhood you think that kind of made you believe that without your singing you weren't enough?
Yes, and I've actually done a lot of work in the last couple of years to address that.
Mm.
As a child, your carers, your primary caregivers are really important to you in the sense that they give you that sense of security. And, sadly, when I was 8, my dad he went to prison for a while. And it was a very tough experience for an 8-year-old.
Mm.
Even though it wasn't his fault, there's a sense of abandonment and rejection that
Right.
comes with that. Um, it definitely I found it difficult then to process my mum moving on, um, and and then had all the guilt because I loved my new stepdad so much, and I felt all these different emotions towards my dad. He doesn't know me. I didn't see him again till I was 12, so you change a lot in that time, and um, yeah, there's definitely things in my childhood there that have shaped me and created this coping mechanism of running away to the next thing,
Right.
and then that's buried in layers of guilt for feeling like I wasn't there for my dad,
Right.
or um, that I loved somebody else in his place.
Where does singing fit into all of this? Because the only reason I ask you that is because I can relate to quite a few things you just spoke about there in terms of growing up. I always had this sense that the only thing I was good at was acting. I mean, I'm laughing now because I realise
Good at many
actually I'm
things.
not as good at acting as maybe as I thought I was, and I'm actually better at other things, maybe potentially. But I definitely had this belief system that that was really all I was good at, and I got a lot of approval from people that I really cared about from doing that as a kid,
Hmm.
like my dad and, just family members. Wow, you're amazing. Da, da. So I sort of carried that into early adulthood, this belief that, you know, that is the thing that makes me who I am. And then when any rejection came in, it wasn't just rejecting of my acting, it was rejecting of a rejection of who I actually am as a human being.
Yes, because you felt that that represented who you were. And I was the
Absolutely.
same. My dad used to put me on a chair and be like, sing, and everybody would clap and be impressed, and you're
Mm.
right. I put a lot of importance on that.
Yeah.
Um, I do think all those experiences that I had as a young child helped me to write
Yeah.
music and helped me to channel all that frustration, anger, resentment, pain that I wasn't understanding into music and words. So I'm so grateful for the creative outlet.
Absolutely.
I feel without that, I would be lost. I really wouldn't be who I am. But that's a personal
Mm.
journey. That's my own personal secret almost. It's like it's a relationship with myself.
Yeah.
The singing, the performing,
Yeah.
that is probably, I think, what you mean in the sense that yes, I did get validated from when I would perform and when I would sing and when the applause, when I would take all the that in,
Yeah.
it would feel powerful to
Yeah,
me.
I mean, I felt like I was no one really without my acting, and if I hadn't worked for a period of time, I felt like I basically had nothing to offer, and any kind of rejection, particularly at that age, 19, 20, 21, early 20s, was just so crushing to
Yeah.
me, and I could really get a sense of that when you sent me that email that you really get it.
Oh, the rejection. And
Mm,
then you get used to the rejection. It's almost like it becomes this horrible game uh, of tag.
yeah,
The
yeah,
rejection
yeah,
tags you again. And then I started to perpetuate it myself.
mm,
It's like the brain is so powerful. I feel like I almost became addicted to self-sabotage.
yeah.
I started to live that rejection inside of me and actually start to put that out there energetically.
So the self-sabotage is quite an interesting thing because some people might use a word like self-harm, for example. And I don't necessarily mean self-harm in the way that we think it do, but it is a form of self-harm, isn't it? Self-sabotage,
I guess so. It's almost like
you
I
know?
look in the mirror and go, see,
Mm,
you're not good enough.
right.
You're see, it's kind of like this side of you, so cruel.
Mm,
It kind of makes me feel a bit emotional, the hatred, the self-loathing I would have for myself.
right.
It's so sad.
It's amazing in that beginning bit, all the amazing things that you're achieving and the things that you achieved early on as well. I always had a sense that I was sort of almost touching the stars, but not quite. And every time I got close, there was a rejection and I'd fall much harder.
Mm.
Because in that rock bottom moment, you must have really been on cloud nine with everything that was going on.
I was, but I was also self-sabotaging. Like,
Right.
I know we spoke about it briefly, but I had this very unhealthy relationship with food.
Mm,
And when I got signed, I was in top shape. I'd been dropped from the girl band
right.
because of weight gain. So 19, obviously had that terrible experience with my manager. I went on the X Factor on the show. I was part of a girl group
Yeah.
called Hope.
Yeah.
We were the first time that they put a group together from solo artists. It was an incredible experience. Despite the quite unhealthy journey mentally,
I can imagine.
it feels like life and death in there. I remember when we found out we got through into the semi-finals, and I remember falling to my knees on stage, like it feels so excessive and over the top when I think back of it now. But I just remember that my legs couldn't hold me. It was this feeling of like we needed that to get through. It was crazy. It's like it is really in you.
Yeah.
You're absorbing the necessity. You are no one if you don't get through to the next round. You know what's going to happen if you don't get through. Anyway, we came fifth, and then we went on tour with the X Factor after. After touring there, we got signed by solo agency by the lovely John and Caroline Giddings, who are still great friends of mine to this day. And then they managed to get us in the studio with Pharrell Williams, and
Wow.
yeah, that was an
Legend.
incredible experience. He is quite a superb, almost supernatural, like human being. I don't know. He's just got this energy about him. He hears things. He's so warm and grounded, but yet so next level. I remember him getting all the pots and pans from the kitchen in the studio and going into the vocal booth and making the beat from all the pots and pans.
Cool.
And it was very cool. It also helped me to understand a bit of production. That was my first exposure to it, really.
Yeah.
And then we toured with Boyzone and Westlife. Again, another great experience on the road. And we were lucky because we still had tour manager and everything. And then Warner Chappell. And that was when they kind of assessed the band. And that was this lady, Jane Collins, who has haunted my dreams. That was the first time that I had been told to my face that you're not through because you're too fat. You're not in the big group anymore. You're out of the group.
Is that the reason you were cut from the group?
That was the reason I was cut from
because of some perceived weight gain.
Yeah.
That's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, it was
disgraceful.
Tough. That was the noughties music world. That was the industry for young women. It was all about the aesthetic, all about how you looked, and all about what they wanted you to be like.
What would you say to her now if she was sat in the room now?
I forgive you.
Right. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I really,
Good for you.
yeah, I really have had to work with that. And she probably has no idea the impact that she's had on me, and maybe for sure many other young ladies, and the self-loathing that she perpetuated inside me. I'd already had a taste of it from my Raquelle Gracie official hate site when I was on the X Factor. Somebody had gone to all the time and trouble of building a nice little hate site to talk about me on, which wow, that was pretty painful. I was 20 at that age, and then now I'm 22.
What was it based on? I mean,
that my looks were annoying, or I was too fat, or my voice was annoying. How irritating am I? I'm so overly driven and ambitious, and I felt really bad though because they brought up so much of my dad's past, and I felt that was very hard for him because he had to relive all of his traumas going to prison and stuff like that again. And I think that made me feel quite guilty,
right.
Because that was tough for him and his business.
Right. It just really strikes me, how high you were riding when you got that drop from the label over such a frivolous thing and a ridiculous thing as some kind of perceived weight gain. It's unbelievable. I'm glad you've said that it was the noughties, and then can I read into that maybe it wouldn't happen now in such a way? Or
I really think we've shifted into a time where you can be true to who you are, and I'm so grateful for the next generation of artists that pressure of needing to look like whoever the perfect pop star is. I believe now that people are being celebrated for being unique, for being different, for
Yeah,
having
absolutely.
different body shapes.
Thank goodness
Um,
for that.
yeah,
Mm.
thank God. And it is an interesting time to be in the music industry now because you
Mm.
can hold on to your creative control. You don't need a label to distribute your music anymore.
Yeah.
You can do it all from your laptop.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's an incredible time, but it also separates the strong from the weak
Yeah.
because if you don't have the tenacity
Right,
to
sure.
have consistency on your socials, to invest in yourself as an artist, you have to self-invest now.
Yeah.
If you think it's just going to happen for you like that, it's not, and it won't. But I think that that will. It is rising a new generation of artists.
Yeah.
It's and I hope a generation of artists that have self-worth.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're all going to have our demons and our issues, and we're all going to, um, of course, our journey makes us who we are.
Just want to go back to that moment a minute ago where you dropped to your knees and you got through in the semi-final.
Mm.
Now, obviously, like a lot of the stuff we're talking about, some of it has a negative connotation, but also there's mostly positives in the sense that you were so deeply passionate and it meant so much, you
Mhm.
know, which is obviously incredible. And it's the fire in your belly that kept you going and all the things you were just talking about. But also I got a sense of that sort of low self-esteem was sort of still there. It was almost like, well, now I can validate myself because I've got through this semi-final.
Totally.
Was there sort of a running theme? Again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, as sort of validation addiction to some extent? Because I always felt as a young person, in particular, well, I say young person, it lasted till my mid-30s, that I always needed outside validation to kind of feel enough. And I think that's why there's a lot of creatives that struggle with their mental health and also with addiction. Because a lot of us feel that we've got this sort of low self-esteem, and then
Yeah.
this, I had a very big ego, this real sense of who I thought I was and who I
Mhm.
should be versus this crippling low self-esteem. And then I had like this massive gap. And if I wasn't being validated in some way, I'd just fill it up with booze and other behaviors.
Totally. I'm with you, and I definitely believe that validation addiction within me was really strong, and I would say I had that up until about the last 2 years.
Right.
And I'm
Wow.
38 now.
Yeah.
So it was my birthday last week, and I remember
Oh, happy
thinking,
birthday.
thank you,
There you
true Aquarian,
go.
and I just always needed that. And that's why I think I ran from so many different things because after the final being dropped when I was 23, so that was post X Factor, post LA, post that was the Babyface drop.
Yeah.
I remember 23. I'm clearly not a star.
Mhm.
I'm clearly not what I thought I was.
Mhm.
I'm not enough. Um, but I know I'm a good songwriter, so I should just write songs.
Right.
Because I remember convincing myself, I don't really wanna be an artist because, I mean, people are gonna focus on my body or they're gonna watch me on stage and actually I'm not meant for that. Y isn't I really convinced
Yeah.
myself,
Right.
and so then I became a songwriter and then
Is it because you were so scared of more rejection? Do you think that's what that was about?
looking back,
Right.
absolutely, just
Which makes sense considering what you've been through with it.
and more scrutiny,
Mm.
more, um, people again, caring about what people thought so much.
Yeah.
They think I'm like this, they think I'm like that. Now I couldn't give two hoots.
100%.
And it's the first time where I've in my life where I've just gone, I was so terrified to become visible. It
Mm.
was 36, so it was 2 years ago when obviously I gave up drinking
Yeah.
and I remembered myself. I stepped back into my power.
Yeah.
As an artist, I write songs, yes, but I want to sing them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
and like I said, nowadays you can have creative control. You can release music from your laptop. I need to be doing that
Mm. Mm.
because it's something that is a if it's it's important to me.
Yeah.
And if you get one life,
Mm.
I want to be able to look back and say I did all those things that excited me, that helped me to shine my light in my own way. And some people might not like it. I released a song last year called Remember Me, and I got a message from someone who'd lost their son actually, who said that song has just been on repeat and it means so much. It feels like he's talking to her.
Wow.
And I thought to me that is success
100%.
because I've touched someone,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and I don't mind if it's one person or a million or,
Yeah.
I just know that I've made an impact in somebody's life
Absolutely.
and that's enough.
You're so right, because the thing is, as soon as you're kind of self-validating with stuff from outside yourself, it's something you'll never ever win, because it's not like, if you validated me now, it's like, well, let's tick that box, I'm done for the rest of my life. For me, it's a bit like the next drink. It's always the next drink, it's always the next thing. And actually, it's just about the here and now and what you're doing. And like you say, if it just affects one person, that is enough. I started this podcast with that. It sounds cheesy and a lot of people say it, but I thought, if it helps one person, it has been worth it.
Absolutely.
As soon as I start getting obsessed with sort of download figures and, awards and charts and so I actually stop enjoying it, and it takes my focus away. So it's a really difficult balance though.
It is. You're so
Yeah.
right, because you do it for the love.
Yeah.
And then when the business side of things
Yeah.
comes in, I mean, the world that we live in, it runs off finance, right? And
Mhm.
that's in the sense that that's how a lot of people define success. And I actually completely disagree. I think what it runs off is love
Yeah.
and truth and authenticity. So if you can
100%.
actually do something that you really enjoy, like how much you're giving back by doing this podcast,
Mm.
um, that shines through,
Yeah.
and the right people will find it.
That's exactly right.
And like what's happened for you
Mm.
is just starting to roll,
Yeah,
you know?
that's true. For years, if someone asked me a question like, "What is your purpose in life?" for example, I'd find that really, really difficult to answer. It was always about me, though, the answer. It would either be some kind of hedonistic thing. Oh, my purpose in life is just to enjoy myself and get all I can out of this planet. That's basically what my purpose was at one point. Or it was all sort of wrapped in ego and
Mm,
prestige and all of that. And now I just see it as something so simple. It's just my purpose in life is to help someone else. And in
yeah,
whatever way, whether that's in a rehab, whether that's in a 12-step fellowship, whether that's through the podcast, whatever it is, like, that is a
absolutely.
huge purpose, just to help another human being. Like,
It
why is
is.
that not enough?
And if everybody had that purpose, can you
It would be
imagine? If
great,
or
right?
you yeah, it's a really nice, positive way
Yeah.
to put your energy out into the world.
You can't really go wrong if that's your purpose, really. We spoke earlier, didn't we, about that sort of gap, that void that can happen. You mentioned briefly food, and I know also
Yeah,
that you've given up alcohol. Congratulations on that.
thank you.
For the last couple of years, must be very hard to do in the Algarve.
Yes, it
Could
has
I
been.
read into then that alcohol and food has been used in the past to kind of fill that void up when the validation wasn't coming in, or when you were struggling with difficult emotions? I wondered if maybe we could start with the food. How did that kind of present itself?
Well, ironically, it was almost like it wasn't a self-soothing, thing, it was a self-sabotage thing.
Right, interesting.
And I was at the top of my game and feeling great and in sessions all the time. I was doing what I loved, and I was signed to an artist that I was obsessed with. Babyface was one of my idols growing up. Um, Everything was great, and then I would sneak away and eat.
Right,
And I was a regular at the local yogurt land. Ridiculous.
right.
Uh,
So was it like sort of binge eating? Were you sort of going out and sort of, was it like a binge you'd have?
and if nobody else I knew saw me, then
Right,
it didn't happen.
got you.
Do you understand what I mean? I was definitely a secret eater. I would, after the studio, I'd stop by a CVS store and get like loads of peanut M&Ms and just sit in my room and eat them and hate myself and
Interesting.
hate and then be like, oh well, tomorrow's a new day.
It was sort of a self-harming thing, which I can relate to. You see, with alcohol for me, it was self-soothing at the beginning,
Mm,
and a lot of it was about going out and having fun. It wasn't all that deep, not all of it, but it was a self-soothing thing. But then it became a sort of self-sabotage thing, a self-harming thing.
hmm
Um, like for me to go out and have a drink now, I basically don't want to live anymore. That's kind of how I see it. It's very black and white. But it's interesting. I'm just curious about your relationship with food sort of prior to that. Have you always sort of had a healthy relationship with food, and then in that moment it became unhealthy, or?
I've always had
Right,
I've always had a little. I've always been conscious.
right,
Uh, Maybe because of the world I was in
right.
straight
Sure.
away.
Makes sense.
And also that culture. Okay, so 90s was all heroin chic, right? You know,
Yeah,
Kate
yeah.
Moss and everything.
Yep.
And then the noughties, you had to be fit as a fiddle. You know, it was just
It's really interesting you mentioned that about this, the way that social media and society influences what we think a good body image is.
mhm,
Because I was a teenager during that heroin chic. So I've actually always felt most comfortable being quite skinny,
mhm,
which is quite odd because most blokes want to be ripped and henched. I actually like being really, really slim because
Mhm.
I flirted with modeling very briefly as a teenager, but all my shots were very emancipated,
Mhm.
you know, yeah, quite skinny and sort of,
Yeah.
so it's kind of weird how I've never had that thing about muscles
Yeah, well, I guess
as
you
a, as
didn't
a
grow
thing.
up
I
with
didn't
that.
grow up with it.
It wasn't an aspiration as a young man. You were looking at the images of the rock stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
But they
know.
were all like really, like you say, the
Yeah.
heroin chic. So what was your influence? Sorry, you were saying what was the body image that you thought was the
I
ideal?
guess the Britneys,
Right.
the Spice Girls,
Yeah.
um, Christina Aguilera,
Sure.
the really teeny tiny but big singers, the
Right.
pop stars.
Got you.
It had to tick the boxes. It had to be that
So you're
way.
always conscious about not eating too much, just being the right weight, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And so it was always, and then on TV, of course. I remember somebody saying to me, remember you always look a stone heavier on TV, so you
Oh
should
yeah, they
always be
told
a
us.
stone under. And yeah, that stuck with me. You need to be ready for a bikini shoot at the drop of a hat,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
and I actually now I live and swear by strong, not skinny.
Yeah,
Strong, not skinny.
yeah,
And my yoga, I'm a big yoga head. I love my yoga, and
yeah.
I'm a qualified teacher, but I don't really teach anymore unless I have artists coming over who want to. And when I do the retreats in Portugal, I do sometimes do yoga with them, because yoga it helped me find peace on my mat. It helped me love every part of me. Then when I had my babies, your body changes so much. And actually, I found my body regulated itself after my kids.
Mm,
I
mm.
actually had a new shape that was probably a healthier mind and a body that just kind of worked because I was doing the yoga. I don't know. It just I felt different.
Right.
And since the children, I really love every part of me now.
So that yogurt land thing you were telling me about, was it about, if I put weight on and I get dropped again, then it's the weight's fault and the rejection isn't about my singing?
I think you've actually hit the nail on the head. I think that's exactly right.
Right.
Subconsciously,
Subconsciously, sure.
obviously. Also like a challenge,
Right.
like an FU to the universe, like can I
Yeah.
still get,
If I get rejected again, it's my weight
yeah,
and it's not me.
it's
And
not
it's that
me.
story again.
Yeah. And it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you've absolutely you're a very good therapist as well.
Oh, bless you. No, I hate psychoanalyzing people on my podcast, but I find it really fascinating, the psychology behind the subconscious stuff that we do
Yeah,
and what that story is when you unpick it. And, I didn't want to speak on your behalf, wouldn't be my place, but I was
true.
trying to think, well, maybe that's why I would have done it.
And the fear of rejection,
Mm,
so wild and so prevalent in me,
yeah.
that yeah, I really believe that I wanted to shrink myself, so that I couldn't burn out. I couldn't be seen anymore. And I really did remove myself from being visible. Um, and then shortly after that happened, when I
Mm,
moved to Manchester, back to the UK, I'm from Manchester originally, my stepdad passed away. And that was just another blow. Came out of nowhere. He was 47. He had a stroke, left behind my brothers who are 8 and 11. And then I was like, well, that's it. This music game has got to go. My family need me. And I was so blessed that that was my profession, the way that I
mm.
could actually give up everything and move in with my mum and help the boys. And uh,
So that gave you actually took some time out, did you, from the industry to do that? It's amazing.
I did. And actually, just at that time, I'd also met my now husband.
Amazing.
Well, we'd met before, but I had started dating him, and he was this blanket of love and security, and he loved me fat, thin. It didn't matter.
Amazing.
Um,
What's
and
your husband's name?
his name's Andrew.
Big up, Andrew.
Yeah,
Amazing. See,
thank
there's
you.
some good men out there. We
Yeah,
love to hear this
yeah, and
on this
he,
podcast.
God, he has been a bit of a hero uh, throughout because obviously all this pain and rejection and self-sabotage and then grief on top of that, layers and layers upon things I hadn't dealt with and was afraid to deal with, then would come out now as
Yeah.
in our early 30s that there was that streak of bitterness as the people that I used to work with really started killing it.
Right.
You know, I'm really good friends with like Grammy Award winners and big
Yeah.
artists and
Nice.
amazing songwriters. And although obviously I'm so happy for them, this
It really stung at the time in
yeah,
some way.
because I felt like we were on the same trajectory,
Right.
and then I pulled away so abruptly. And Andrew had to pick up my pieces when I'm crying at 3 a.m. and shouting and screaming, you know, like and upset and
And you
angry. And
compete with grief from your friends, am I right? Like, you sort of became a bit of a ghost, really.
yeah, oh,
Sort of
that
hid
would be
away.
my thing. Yeah. So I would like
Which I find hard to imagine now, having met you for the first time today, how sociable you are and
yeah.
bubbly you are. So what was going on there then? You were just sort of locking yourself away? Was it sort of almost agoraphobic, or were you just not wanting to hang out with people?
I think it was embarrassment.
Right. Interesting.
I was also embarrassed to see people I hadn't seen in ages because I was conscious that I'd gained weight
Right.
or looked different. So I'd lock them off.
Yeah. It's
Um,
amazing how vulnerable you're being. You know,
mm,
these are the sort of things that once upon a time neither of us would have spoken about. The mask would have been fully up. I'm
yeah,
fine, thanks.
yeah,
Don't even go there. And now we're just laying it all out on the table.
yeah. Well, I feel very safe to do that. So thank you.
Well, bless you, but
Um,
that's where your strength is, right? By acknowledging that,
mhm.
and it is like a superpower, vulnerability. It really is.
I've never been comfortable in vulnerability
Mm,
until of like, even if I'm still not comfortable in vulnerability, it
mhm.
still feels very to lay myself like bare like this is
Yeah. But you're not there
surreal.
now.
No, I have done a lot of work in the last couple of years to find a bit more just to sit in that vulnerability and
Yeah.
actually not run or escape to the next thing, but to be like, yeah, that really that hurts actually.
Yeah.
Throw myself a little pity party, feel it,
Yeah.
and then okay, right. So what is next? Like, and remembering that the universe has a plan.
This episode is sponsored by Gavin Sisters, the passionate teetotal founders of the Detox Balm Retreat and the creators of Funky Coffee. If you love the taste of coffee but want to ditch the crash, Funky Coffee is your new go-to. Made from triple certified organic Arabica coffee and infused with powerful mushrooms, it gives you all the energy and none of the jitters. Plus, it's amazing for your gut, skin, and athletic performance. And if you're looking to recharge your body and mind, you've got to check out the Detox Barn. This award-winning retreat located in both the UK and the Algarve is a plant-based, alcohol-free sanctuary where you'll learn how to be healthier, happier, and more balanced. Whether it's for a weekend away or a full restorative retreat, just visit gavinsisters.co.uk and use the code School of Rock Bottom for 10% off your next retreat or a bag of their amazing Funky Coffee. That's School of Rock Bottom for a 10% discount for a healthier, happier you. Go check them out. There was another period of time, I should say, where you suffered more grief
Mm,
with the loss of your cousin Tiki.
mhm.
Without sort of going into that too much, I'm just interested because that coincided, I believe, with you giving up alcohol.
Yeah.
Can I ask you why it coincided at the same time as that? Because I'm guessing there's a link potentially.
Yeah, I had already established the fact that I wanted to be reconnected to my uh, artistry, and
Yeah.
somehow I'd kind of I didn't know how. And again, I was terrified to be seen. I was very much in the throes of living life, and life is to be enjoyed. And let's have a glass or a bottle of rosé, and just put those dreams on a shelf.
Mm,
And then when that happened with Tiki, it just really brings home life is so short. He was also 47, which I also found just a bit shocking. Peter died at 47, he died at 47. My dad died in the middle of that. So I'd lost three male figures now
right.
that I'd always kind of looked up to and connected with. And I remember sitting in my studio just being really um, sad,
Mm,
and then I just put my fingers on the keys and I wrote this song called Brother. And it was like he wrote it through me. And I felt like I had to put it out. I had to get this song out there because it
mm,
was going to help someone who was dealing with what we were dealing with. And all the things that he'd been through in his life. And yeah, I think that was the moment where I go, okay, I got to get productive now. I got to get serious now. No more of this nonsense of like making pancakes for the kids with a raging hangover or running to the toilet to be, I'm a grown woman,
Yeah.
like, and over drunk, what? You know,
Right.
pull yourself together, you know.
So were you drinking too much? Was that part of it, or it just wasn't agreeing with you anymore, sort of mentally, spiritually, it just wasn't
I think
aligning with
both,
you?
both.
Right.
I think it's a culture,
Yeah.
um, for sure, and I was also really nervous how people around me were gonna take it.
Mm.
And my husband, Andrew, again, big up, he was he was like, "Well, now we don't have to get any taxis."
Right, right. Yeah,
He's been
yeah.
brilliant,
That's amazing.
and loves me no matter, like, what. And I'm confident, so I'm lucky in the sense that I didn't need the alcohol to feel comfortable talking to people,
Yeah.
'cause I know that that can be quite a
The social anxiety thing for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I found for me as well that, you know, maybe the first 3 months sober I was struggling, but yeah, luckily I don't have that issue as well.
Yeah, that
It'd be really difficult if you do.
yeah, it
Yeah.
must be. However, when I did come off of it,
Mm.
I did notice that there were some people who really championed it, and some people who were like, "Oh, when are you going to stop drinking again? When are you
Right.
going? You were just so
They don't do that with
fine."
any other drugs, do they? When you start
Yeah,
using cocaine again? When are you gonna start
right.
using heroin again? Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It's been a month since you've used heroin.
yeah. I
But
can imagine.
when it's alcohol, it's like this
It,
big deal.
it's so normalized, and you're so abnormal
Do you think you were
suddenly.
sort of shining a light on their drinking? Do you think was that why it was bothering them, do you think?
I mean, I wouldn't want to read into to what they're thinking, but I just had to keep going.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I did notice that many friendships have been replaced with maybe one or two really, really strong ones.
Got you.
Um, and that's okay.
Yeah.
If anything, it's helped
I
me.
had a lot sorry to interrupt. I had a lot of friendships that were based on alcohol. You know, and when
Mhm.
I gave it up, I realized who my real friends were for sure.
Yeah, it does change. And it also changes. It does change you as a person as well.
Really?
Um,
I
and I
bet
remember,
I mean, you must have noticed so many benefits from giving up alcohol. I mean, one of them must have been being able to process all the grief because, you know, I find with something like alcohol, if you're going through something very traumatic, every time you drink, you're not dealing with it. You're just staying stuck in that pain. You might be numbing it in the moment, but you're waking up and you're exactly where you're at. So if you're, you know, if you're going through grief and for the first 2 years of that pain, you're just drinking, you're still there. You haven't really gone any further into that process.
and also then it made me process everything
Stuff.
else that I'd been burying for over a
Right.
decade.
Wow.
So then in this period of time when Brother was released and when I start to become visible again and I'm actually stepping into my artistry so scarily, in my mid-30s thinking, wow, I'm really doing this. And then suddenly I'm processing Tiki, which is bringing up dad, my dad who passed away, and then it's bringing up Peter, and then it's bringing up rejection, and it's
Yeah.
bringing up um, all the wounds that I had tried so hard to cover and to deal with in a different way. And I feel very, very lucky that I had a great coach, really, Indy. Her name is Indy Mills, and she really guided me through that. And I
Wow.
think having somebody that was completely out of my life, just for me,
Amazing.
was very powerful.
Is that like a life coach, a mindset
Yeah,
coach, a therapist?
she's a life coach,
Okay,
mindset
amazing.
coach, and therapist, I guess. But I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know if but she kind of encompassed that for me,
incredible.
and she helped me move forward, and she helped me keep believing in myself until I was able to be out of that validation addiction
Mm,
and actually can validate myself. Um, I remember always like be not thinking my voice was good enough or anything, and then when people now would say that was amazing, your voice sounded amazing, I'd be like, thank you.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Being able to just really accept
Yeah,
that and really own that,
yeah,
um, you know,
it,
praise from somebody else because they want to give it to you and it is
yeah,
absolutely authentic. Because I was like you before, I'd be like, I'd sort of apologize. Well, yeah, thanks, I guess. And but
yeah,
I was a bit shit in the first act though, wasn't I? And
right,
did you notice when I missed that line? And you
right,
know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Straight into the
The
attack
negative.
of self.
Yeah, and now actually when I give someone a compliment and
Mhm.
they go, "No, no," I said, "No, no, no, please, just take it because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how I felt about you.
Mm.
Like, just take it." And
So you're able to validate yourself today, which is amazing.
yeah, I, 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 I know I'm always in a work in progress. Um, I know that there's always going to be things that come up or new things that happen,
Mm.
but I just feel now that I've never been more secure in who I am,
Yeah.
flaws and all, warts and all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, I have embraced that shadow side of myself, and the spiritual journey has been really impactful and important for me too. Connecting with all these different aspects of myself and the light, the shadow, even supernatural stuff. You know, that's helped me. Conscious yoga, like music, yoga, meditation, all that kind of stuff has helped
Mm.
me to.
When you
Yeah.
say spirituality, I think some people will listen to this or watch this and lots of different things will come into their mind. Are you talking about religion? Are you talking about God? Are you talking about a relationship with the universe and yourself? Sorry to pick it apart.
No,
I
it's.
just I think people might be interested when you say that word, what that means to you.
I believe that you should believe what enables you to live a positive, um, empowering life.
That's very pragmatic. Makes sense.
It does make sense. And what makes you
Absolutely.
feel better?
Yeah.
Because it certainly makes me feel better to think my dad is my guardian angel and Peter's always around me and little signs, numerology.
Yeah.
It gives me just a little pick me up sometimes when I'm feeling low.
100%.
And it works for me. I also believe in, you know, the many worlds. There's a version of me who um, who didn't get dropped, who didn't have this you know, but she doesn't have my kids,
Yeah.
and she's not living where I'm living right now, where I'm sitting right now, and I'm so grateful to be in this timeline, to be here experiencing all the things that I've experienced, because I believe I'm now in a position where I can also help other people. And you just don't know which way your life is gonna go.
Yeah.
So many crossroads, but only you could get to be this version of you right now.
Absolutely.
And there's something beautiful about that,
Mm.
and that's my spirituality. I believe in God.
Yeah. Sure.
Um, I pray to God.
Yeah.
I'm
Amazing.
grateful to God. But I don't go to church.
Sure.
I would like to open that door again one day.
Well,
Um,
there's that old stereotype, isn't there? If you ask someone in the West where God is, they'll often point upwards. If you're listening to this, I'm pointing upwards. But if you ask someone in the East where God is, they'll point to the heart. So I think sort of highlights the fact that you don't need a building necessarily.
and also that divinity within you
Mm,
is so powerful. Um, and I do believe the answer is in space, like within your own space.
mm,
Sometimes you can be given a choice and you genuinely can't find which way to go. What I've found super helpful is just to clear the diary, create some space, and
yeah.
just sit and try and find a way to switch off your brain. And the answer does come.
What does stillness feel like to you now? I only ask you that because
Yeah.
there was a point in my life it was very uncomfortable. Silence. I remember going to a meditation group and lasting about 30 seconds and just walked out. Literally just to sit there and breathe. I remember at drama school doing yoga in the morning and deep breathing exercises. I was like, foot was tapping. I was ready to get out there and have a cigarette.
Writing a shopping list.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas now it can feel very intense, quiet, almost like I'm being connected to something far greater. Like sometimes I can't be there too long because it feels so intense. That's what the
Mhm.
silence is like, but it's beautiful, but quite intense.
Yeah.
I just wonder what it's like for you.
I have a very busy life.
Mm,
And so it's absolutely imperative that I get that time in.
yeah.
Otherwise, I feel like I end up running from point A, B, C, you know, all over the place. And I feel so misaligned and ungrounded.
Mm,
And then when you feel misaligned and ungrounded, sometimes it's really hard to get back into the routine of finding that stillness. I have now found the optimum time for me to do that
yeah.
is before my whole house wakes up.
Best time. It's when your brain is most plastic in the morning. First
Right.
thing in the morning, last thing at night.
Yeah.
100%.
And actually, I have really got so much peace out of watching the sunrise in the morning.
Mm,
That for me, I've got my little area that I go to, and I watch the sunrise, and I journal and I meditate. And sometimes, if I have time, I do yoga in the morning. And that helps set me up
yeah.
so powerfully. But I don't do it all the time. I
I know.
try.
I'm the same, and I don't know why.
I know. I
You know,
know.
it's so frustrating because I feel so much better when I do. It's amazing how the neuroscience, is so clear that first thing in the morning, last thing at night, your brain is so neuroplastic. Like what you put into your brain in those moments could literally affect your entire day. you know, and I know sometimes in the morning when I wake up, it's like my brain is just waiting for me. It's like, hello, I've been
Yeah,
waiting for you all night.
it's true.
And the urge to reach for my phone or the laptop and just dive straight into work really shows me sort of where spiritually I'm at and sort of where I am. And I
Yeah,
must admit, recently I've been a bit more that way. I've just got some stuff going on, some family stuff going on, just various life things. And for me, it's a little marker like, actually, I need to be more in the stillness because I'm sort of waking up and I'm grabbing the phone and
definitely.
I'm sort of straight in emails and notifications. And it's like the brain wants that dopamine. Where actually,
Yeah,
it's the last thing it needs. It needs that stillness, that meditation, that quiet, that journaling, that gratitude, whatever it is,
yeah.
not that shit.
Because I find so much comfort
Yeah,
in busyness.
me
And
too.
I'm just like, oh, I need to go here and I need to go there. I'm very busy. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's a natural go-to.
It's like you said
Um,
earlier when we're having a coffee, it's like that swan, you know, you've got this lovely long neck, but underneath it's going like crazy.
totally.
And just acknowledging that in the stillness is so important.
And being okay if your brain keeps going and then just going, okay, I can't meditate today, but I'm gonna keep trying.
Mm,
It's not happening so easily, but
yeah,
just the consistency of doing it, and it's like going to the gym for your brain.
absolutely.
It will get easier and easier. A trick I do, which I heard on a podcast actually, was when you go to the toilet first thing in the morning,
Yeah,
don't reach for your phone before you go to the toilet.
yeah,
But before you go to the toilet, put on your gym clothes or your trainers on the lid.
amazing.
So when you have to lift the lid up, you have to take the things off, and then
Right,
you're
okay.
kind of holding it, and you're like, "Oh, I need to go downstairs and do my yoga."
Oh,
Like, and I find that's quite a good tactic because then you're letting
yes, right.
yourself down if you don't put it on.
Well, it sounds like yoga practice really gives you that space in which you can be still and you can meditate and, you know, you can channel all those things, I guess, within your yoga practice, which is really good.
Yeah, and ironically, it was the yoga that because when I ran away from all the writing and all the music and everything, and then I had my daughter, and then my dad died, and I found so much peace in the yoga, and then we started a yoga studio actually, my friend and I, and the sense of community building
Mm,
and the space of holding, and there was a lot of women there too, so there's a lot of women holding women. It was this beautiful unity of souls that needed healing, and for me, then it made me want to write music again because I wanted to share that essence of
I
healing.
think a lot of what you do, obviously the music as well, but also sort of the businesses and stuff that you've opened and are doing at the moment, to me, they all seem quite healing based as well.
Healing and community.
Healing and community.
Yeah.
Is part of your theatre school for young people about creating a safe space for young people, maybe a safe space
Absolutely.
that maybe you didn't have?
Yeah, just giving them confidence.
Yeah.
To speak, to try new things,
Mm,
to something that scares you, to do something that scares you.
yeah.
We had these little mini auditions. I don't like to call them auditions. I just say opportunities
Yeah.
to get up in front of the rest of the class and sing and
Mm,
or act or dance or do something that you feel comfortable doing. And I was amazed from when we started it over a year ago. The children that were really, really shy now feel really comfortable in that space of their peers, which is probably one of the most terrifying places, right?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
To bare their soul and share something that makes them feel really vulnerable,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
performing or like, there's and the pride that I feel knowing that we've cultivated that space for them.
Mm,
It's really massive. And it's the same thing with the artist retreats that I do. We had a young girl on there, shout out to Siobhan. She's 15. She's incredible, but she was really, really nervous. And I knew she could do it. So I kind of would push her and then be gentle and then push her and eventually she got on that stage and she delivered.
I think what you just said there, pushing and then be gentle, is kind of the way that I am with young people as well. I know she wasn't. I think she was slightly older than maybe a
Yeah,
teenager, but you know, you've got to prepare them for the realities of the industry, which is tough, and there is a lot of rejection. But there is a
mhm.
soft way that you can do it as well.
Yeah, I really
I
do
I
believe that.
absolutely agree with that. And
Yeah.
it's a bit of an art form. You got to know when to push and when to pull, and when to be soft and when to be hard. But if you can get the blend right, it can be an absolute game changer for people.
Yeah, and also making sure that they feel supported,
Yeah.
and it's not just by me, but by the people around them as well,
Mm,
by other artists. And what I'm really trying to drive home in the Algarve, where we host these retreats, these creative retreats,
yeah.
there is no competition between artists. Actually, the best thing that you could really do is collaborate.
Yeah.
Not only then are you accessing each other's audiences, but you're building each other up, and that is the key. The
Yeah.
people around you, working with each other. There's only ever going to be one you.
That's exactly
Your
right.
voice is unique. Your ability is unique. Your message is unique.
You know what's beautiful about you as a human is the fact that you went through all of these things, you know, as a teenager, but also in your 20s, and now you're creating spaces to really help people not, you know, not experience the things that you did, and create all these creative healing safe spaces, which is really amazing. You know, you should be
Oh,
highly applauded for that.
thank you.
Um, Unfortunately, we're getting close to being out of time, which is really, really sad for me. Um, I've started asking all my guests this. It's a bit of an odd question, but my final question to you today is, what would you like written on your gravestone?
So the most important things in my life, yes, it's the music, yes, it's the community, yes, it's all that that comes with it. But really and truly, when you leave this earth, we get such a finite amount of
Yeah,
time. Um, what matters to me is the people that I've loved and that have loved me. And truly, all I would want on my gravestone is loving wife, loving mother.
amazing.
My kids, my husband, my family are everything.
Yeah, it's
Um,
incredible.
so yeah, quality time with them. If I didn't have much time left, God forbid, that is just something that I would treasure forever. And so
Yeah.
yeah, my babies and my man, I'm very lucky to have them.
And if you could speak to that Raquel that got dropped by a label, going right back to the beginning, what would you say to her right now? She was sat right in front of you.
I'd just give her a big giant hug
Yeah.
and just say you are enough. Not even that it's all going to be okay or things are going to be you're going to be okay. Not I think I would just give her the hug.
Yeah.
I just needed a big
Absolutely.
giant hug and the knowledge that I I am already whole.
You absolutely are. And you are 100% enough. You are more than enough. It's amazing, isn't it, that you can get to a place where, I mean, I honestly feel now if all my acting was taken away, I'd be absolutely fine with it. You know, I'd have
Yeah.
a little cry but I would be absolutely fine. I'd feel absolutely whole. You know, I don't feel that I need that now to kind of like make me who I am.
Which is ironically the time when it comes, right?
Yeah,
You
absolutely. And
know?
that doesn't mean I don't love it and doesn't mean
Yeah.
I'm not passionate about it, but it's not the core of who I am anymore, which
Right.
is such a healing place to be.
It's like a gift that you can offer,
Absolutely.
but it doesn't define you.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's really powerful.
Raquelle Gracie, thank you so much for joining me today. I've absolutely loved the last hour and meeting you earlier for a coffee and getting to know you. You're an absolutely lovely human. And
Oh,
I absolutely want every single person that's watching or listening to this to go to the show notes now. You will find loads of links, find all of your brilliant music. All of that good stuff will all be in the show notes. So please go there now. If you're listening to this on Spotify, please give us 5 stars. That would be great. Apple, do the same. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit subscribe, give us a comment, forward it to anyone that you think might benefit from this conversation. And as I always say, and I've not let you down yet, I will see you in 2 weeks' time for a brand new episode. Until then, look after yourself and thanks for watching or listening.